Oh, Marchuk, by the way, Sukkot is over. So I don't know what you were doing with the board on top of your car today, but you're way past there.
Peretz, you're going into competition with Gershon with your microphone.
Yeah, really.
Seriously.
Pretty bad.
I decided that instead of me saying, I can't believe that I'm rushing to get my sukkah up next year, that I would fix the boards this year. So, Mitzvah Shem, I should be putting them up in Yerushalayim. However, it'll be ready.
Okay. All right. Listen, or you might, as long as you don't have to quarantine in a sukkah or something, you got to put it back up for a minyan, for a this or that. That would also, yeah. Anyways, okay.
At what point does it become a permanent dwelling then?
Yeah, no, somebody asked that. I thought, Carmi asked me that. Is he still having minyanim in his sukkah?
Yes.
So he asked. He asked. Now it's already kvias. It's more than a month.
So what?
So he needs a mezuzah.
But
in his sukkah, he has minyanim in his.
He's having minyanim in his sukkah.
Right.
When Landau's was doing construction years and years and years ago on Avenue L, for 9 years they had a non-permanent structure up this, and it said straight like signs everywhere. This is a non-permanent structure, but it stayed up for 9 years.
Shomer Shabbos does that. Shomer Shabbos has a sukkah up all year long.
Do they have mezuzah on it?
I don't know.
That l'chayr, it sounds to me like you have to have a mezuzah.
I don't know. Have to have a mezuzah?
That's a different shiloh whether it's shul, but by Carmi it's private. He's just letting everybody in.
What do you mean? It's a tefka, cap for that, or maybe it's a shul.
I don't think Carmi's going to agree with you that his sukkah is hefker.
I know Kaplan's lawn is hefker.
There you go. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I think most shuls try to say that they're not hefker also.
Except if you leave something there, then they get to be kind of it, and then they keep it, and we're not going there. Okay.
All
right. Anyway, so Daf Ayin Vav, we were talking about Beis Shar or houses and why we don't say it's a double suffix. Then we started with Perek Chaloin. The windows in between 2 yards has to be bigger than 4 by 4 tefachim. Meaning the point is that if you have 2 yards that are close to each other and they want to make an eruv, there's a very negata tonight also. They want to make an eruv between each other. They have to have access to each other. So the Mishnah says 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim is the minimum opening, and it has to be higher than 10 tefachim. And then the Gemara goes through all different scenarios of that, and then of course the circle making it into a square. How much under 10 tefachim? How big does it have to be? And then we said an opening between a house could be higher than 10 tefachim, and then going from a downstairs to an upstairs. What's the status of that opening? Right. So that brings us to our Mishnah.
See, Yaakov.
Yeah.
I hate to do with Litzanis, but it's right there. Michael Thompson can jump 10 tefachim vertical leap, so he could jump over the fence. Yeah. 43 inches vertical leap. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good. Let's hope he doesn't become a ger. He might have to change the whole Judaism with that.
Very good. Very good.
I guess we're lucky that Amari Stottlemyre was towards the end of his career when he converted.
Yeah, I get it right. Right, exactly. Very good. Okay, so Zok the Mishnah, on the bottom of Ayin Vav Amud Beis. Yeah, so Kaisel Shebein Beis Chatzeres. If you have a wall in between 2 yards, Gavaya Asara v'Roichav Arba. So it's 10 tefachim high and it's 4 tefachim thick. Now that's a thick wall, right? 4 tefachim thick. That's a pretty thick wall. So again, it's a wall in between 2 people's yards, 10 tefachim high, 4 tefachim thick. Marvin Shnayim, Bein Marvin Echad. You make an eruv. You're allowed to, since that's a real mechitza, there's no access, so they can only make 2 separate eruvin. Ve'ein Marvin Echad. They cannot combine to carry to each other. Let's say on top of this tree is some fruit. These can go up from this side and eat, and these can go from this side and eat. As long as they don't take the fruit and they bring it down. The Gemara is going to go, not tonight, in a couple of blocks, the Gemara is going to go through this Gemara. But again, So we're saying if there's fruit on top of it, you can go up to the top of the wall and eat it, but you can't bring the fruit back down.
What about
guys?
bringing up to the wall? What about bringing up to the wall?
Oh, very good. Very good. The Gemara is going to discuss it. Very good, Akiva. Akiva, we
Is
needed
this-
you last night for the math, Akiva.
I'm not good with math. Accountants are not good
I
with
don't
math.
know. I think you're better
It's
than
a
I-
common fallacy.
At least you deal with numbers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, only in Excel.
I hear. Okay, fine. All right. So we're happy you didn't show up last night. Motzei Shabbos. I said, it's Motzei Shabbos, not your time. So, yeah.
Is this
okay.
about Noifei Basar Ikra?
No. Why? It's not talking about the tree. It's talking about the fruit sitting on top of the.
Oh, it's stam on top of the wall. not a
Yeah,
tree.
somebody put the fruit
Okay.
on top of the wall.
No,
Fine,
the
the
top
last
of the
is-
wall is considered its own rishus. That's why I was asking about bringing it
right,
up.
exactly,
Its own
exactly,
rishus shouldn't
exactly.
matter.
Right, very good. So the Gemara is going to discuss that. So Nifritzah HaKoy, so let's say the wall broke down. Ad Eser Amas Ma'arvin. So if the break in the wall is up to 10 Amas Ma'arvin Shnayim, then both of them can make their own Erev. Imratzu Ma'arvin Echad, and they could also make one. Because it's like a Dora, which we said, right? Anytime we said way back, 40 blot ago, 50 blot ago, that when you have a mechitza around an Eruv, anything up till 10 tefachim wide is considered, 10 amas wide is considered an opening, and Mamela, the people can either make 2 Eruv and a 1 Eruv. Yoser Mikan, but if the break in the wall is more than 10 amas, let's say 16 feet, then Ma'arvin Echad ve'Ma'arvin Shnayim, 1 can make an Eruv, then 2 can't. Right? 1 can, 2 can't. Yeah, because since the break is so big, it's looked at as one big yard. They cannot make each one cannot make the individual Eruv. Okay. So Zog the Gemara ain't by Arba Mai. Let's say the wall's not 4 wide. So now what's the din? So Rav said, Avir Shtei Reshuyas Shaletas by. The Avir of the 2 Reshuyas is going to rule over it. That's the way you literally touch it. Meaning it has both. It has. It's interesting that it has the status of both yards. So therefore, you're stuck and you can do nothing. You're not allowed to move anything, even something the thickness of a string or a hair, right? Is not. You're not allowed to move it again because we look at the top. If the wall's less than four tvachim thick, then we look at it like it's part of each chutzner. So how can I go take something? If I'm on the right chutzner, how can I go take it? The top of the wall belongs to the left chutzner. From the left chutzner, I can't take it because part of the wall belongs to the right chutzner. Okay, so now I want to talk about Aleph.
Is this negaya to Hilchos Baba Basra also? Depending on the width, who owns what? If it
I
falls
don't
down, do I
think
need to
so.
pay for it?
I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure.
It sounds like it should be. Shtei Reshuyos, no Reshuyos.
Well, it could be negaya, right? So what do we say that how thick the wall, how far in does each property get? I don't remember.
Right.
Yeah, I don't remember. Okay, so let's see. So that's Shita.
It's certainly
What?
no get above a Metzia and El Metzias.
What?
When you have Mechetzi Lefnim and Mechetzi Lechutz.
Right. So you remember what the measurement was of that?
No.
Was there any specific thickness?
It was the halfway point.
No specific thickness.
No, it's just whatever. We're halfway. Okay. So
Right. But it had to have been a thick wall.
yeah. I hear. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, so that's Shitas Rav. That it's no man's land and nobody can move anything on it. Rav Yochanan Amar, Elu Mailan Mikan va'Oichlin. This is Akiva. This is what you're saying. Rav Yochanan says, "What do you mean? You can go up to the tree, and you can bring food up from the ground. Mailan Mikan va'Oichlin, right? Va'Elu Mailan Mikan va'Oichlin. These either one can take food from the ground, and it's because Rashi says it's a Makom Patur, right? It's 10 tvachim high, 4 tvachim wide. It's considered a no man's land, and you're allowed to bring food up there. That's Rabbi Yochanan's Shita. And Rav obviously disagrees with him. So Tanan, Elu oilim mikan va'oichlin, ve'elu oilim mikan va'oichlin. It says in the Mishnah, they can go up and they can eat. Oilin in, mylin loy. They can only go up. They can't bring food up there. Right? Yeah, so that's a kasha. So yesh by arba al arba, if it has 4 by 4, right? So then island in Mylin La, you can go up there and eat, but you can't bring food. Ain by Arba, but it doesn't have 4x4 Mylin Nami. You can also bring food up there, right? You can also bring
What-
food up there because it's not its own rishus, right?
So Yaakov, what would be
Yeah.
the din if you had something standing in Rosh Hashanah like that? Meaning,
Oh.
Rav would obviously be maskim to Rabbi Yochanan in such a case that would be a makam tur, correct?
Correct.
So and so why does it matter that there's a Rosh Hashanah that's trying
Your
to subsume it?
mamish, what, you learned the Gemara already? Because that's mamish, was mamish the next Gemaras. Yeah, very good. Very good. What's the problem, Gershon?
Stamazoi, what is the type of this? Yeshway Arba, how does it not have a bar larba?
Well, I mean, if it's less than 4 thick, that's what we're handling with
The
here.
case is where it's 4 thick.
No, but then we're asking if it's not 4. We're asking if it's not 4. Right? The Gemara, the first words in the Gemara. If there's not 4, what's the din?
Oh, I got confused by the by 4 by 4. Okay, yeah.
Right, yeah, no, that's right. So that's yeah. So let's see. V'azer Rabbi Yochanan l'tamei, and Rabbi Yochanan goes l'shitasai. Dechi aser Rav Dimi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rav Dimi said b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, makom shein by arba al arba. If something doesn't have 4x4, mutar l'vnei rishus harabim v'l'vnei rishus hayachal l'kasef elav, and then the people from rishus hayachal and rishus harabim can rest things on there, as long as they don't switch it with each other. Basically, right? We discussed if in the middle of Rishus Harabim, you have a what do you call it? Not a pillar. I don't know, a stand or something like that, right? So it doesn't have 4x4, yeah, and it's in between Rishus Hayachal and Rishus Harabim. So then you can each one could put things down on there to rest because it's not an issue, right? But they can't swap. That they can't do, right? You got to make sure the guy that puts something down for Rosh Hashanah picks up his thing, and the guy from Rosh Hashanah picks up his thing, right? Akiva, this is what you're talking about, right?
No, I was asking on Rav. I was saying that why should Rav hold that din in Rosh Hashanah different than Rosh Hashanah? Why? Why should it matter where it is if it's on top of 10 tefachim, any place?
So okay, so is that I'm saying? So is that the next Gemara's kasha for Rav Leslie to Rav Dimi? Does Rav not hold of this?
Oh,
right?
so Taka, that might be.
L'chayr, right? That's what he's asking. Does not Rav hold of this din that you have this eskufa, this thing, the stand in Rishus Harabim? So Gemara says, "Iber reshuyos deraisa hachanami." If it was in a reshuyos that are a deraisa, so then he says, "Yeah, and a chanami Rav would agree." But here we're talking about reshuyos derabanan. Here we're talking about just combining two people's yards, right? We just want to know whether we could carry from one yard to the other. With deraisa, that's perfectly mutter. The Rambanan made a gezerah, right? So Hagma asking about reshuyos derabanan. The Chachamim asu chizik l'divrayim yaisa mishel Torah, right? A big chiddush here. The Chachamim were actually more machmer on a derabanan more than they were on a deraisa. And they didn't want you taking things on and off, according to Rav, on top of this wall. Why? Because they were afraid if they're going to allow people to take food, bring it up to the wall, take it down from the wall, then people are just going to start carrying to and from each chatzar, because the whole thing is that the Rabbanon. So Mamela, they made a gezerah. So it comes out that Chachamim made a geder or a fence to make sure that people wouldn't be over on the Rabbanon, which they felt they don't need to do that for a deraisa. Why not? Because a deraisa doesn't need that much chizik. A deraisa where they're not so scared. People are scared of deraisa, so they didn't feel that they needed to make a gather.
So not everybody's all gassed up about the thing people say that every Rabbanan is a deraisa. You see, nobody held that in the time of the Gemara, okay?
You mean because why weren't they scared of the Rabbanon?
Yeah, you see, because it's really, that's Baba Mises. This is the rice and the Rabbanans, and that, was it Losasa?
Yeah, Losasa.
It's obviously it's not a big player.
See, but I hear what you're saying, but maybe the pshat is that they just don't chop. They just don't chop that it's such a strict thing. Meaning they say, it must be in this case, and you start being more heter. Maybe that. I don't know. I hear. Okay, fine.
It plays on the way we learn Gemara. The way we learn Gemara all the time. The Lashon is Tony the Rabbanan. that's a deraisa. This is only a derabbanan. That's the way we think. We're
Yeah,
human.
but
We
so if
think that a derabbanan is less.
Loisosa, you don't have to think. That's what I'm saying. Loisosa is on this side. It's not taryag. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it would be easy to
No.
say they wouldn't have to make
Avada,
a
it's
visit.
taryag. Avada, it's our chesaron that we don't think of it that way.
Right. The
So
truth
what
is,
I'm telling you, in the time of the Shas, people didn't think of that way either. It's not just people coming from far Rockaway in 2020. Then the
Truth
time of
is,
Shas, they didn't think about
yeah.
it either that way. That's
oh,
what
you mean it's not only you mean you're masking the Pismana said oilam is lax with the Rabbanans too. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Yeah, I hear.
but it's
Right. I hear.
that's
The best one I once had a chassan who says, okay, I want you to teach me the halachas. He says to me, just the rices. I said, you know what? I'm very happy. At least you're being straightforward. But I'm going to teach you the derises, the rabbanans. What you do after that, I don't care. It's not my
It's
business.
Yaakov. We already see that concept, Stam, that, like if like the Gemara we've discussed before, how certain times a Rabbanan does not take, the cloud does not accept it, right? So obviously, in such a case, why don't we just say, I loy saser?
Right? No, you're right. So but I don't know.
But I'm just saying, when do you say, in such a case, were they over Darabbanans when a Darabbanan doesn't take, that the cloud doesn't accept it?
Oh, if the cloud, that's a different thing, man. They make a gezeira.
Well, Gzeira is a Darabbanan. What's the difference?
No, but the cloud.
So in such a case, are they over Lysaser when the cloud doesn't accept it?
I hear. That's a good question. I don't know.
So obviously there's some gray area. There's some gray area where just because the Rabbanan might have established something, it's not. There is wiggle room over there. So when the Rabbanan Taka want to make something stark, they have to go out of their way to make it stark, like this case.
I hear. All right, good. That's good shot. That's a good shot in the Gemara. Very good. Okay. Now we go through lots of cases. Baruch Hashem is not a hard Gemara, right? So Amar Rabbah, this week, B'li and Hara, so far what I've looked at is not such hard Gemara as Eruvin goes for sure. Yeah, so Amar Rabbah, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Nachman, Kaisel shebein shtei chatzeres. Right, you have a wall that's in between two chatzeres. That's what we've been talking about. Tzida echad gavoya asara tefachim, b'tzida echad shava la'aretz. So basically, what you do here, this situation is that you have 1 yard that's below the other yard. In Eretz Yisrael, they have it much more, right? You walk in like a Harnof for sure.
And
right?
Yaakov, you go into Young Israel, Lawrence Cedarhurst.
And a mechitza.
But a mechitza, right?
Well, you're really in the controversial mood tonight.
It's wild. It's just wild. I was there once for a bris, and I said, "Oh, this is a very nice mechitza." Then I went around the ladies' side, and I'm towering over it like a Mari Stoudemire, Wild. It's wild.
Why is that any different than the white shul? I'm just saying, it's the white shul also you could see down. That's not the Indian mechitza.
You didn't hear me say it was different. I'm telling you what the Lawrence Cedars has different.
I'm just saying that's not the Indian
because what he's saying,
mechitza.
because in Lawrence, he's saying
the
Lawrence
floors
Cedar.
are different levels. The floors
By
are
Lawrence
different
Cedar,
levels.
it's deceiving, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But anyway,
we have this case. We have this case by Willow Court. The behind us, there's another a complex on Caffrey, but it's below. We have a wall. On their side, it's a full wall. On our side, it's a half a wall.
So you have two, right? So you have a wall. One mechitza is below, one mechitza is above. Yeah. So again, kaisel shebein shtei chatzeres, tzidei echad gavoya asara tefachim, tzidei echad shava la'aretz. Right. One is not shava la'aretz. And Rashi says shava la'aretz doesn't mean that it's shava to the ground. It just means it's less than 10 tefachim. So basically, the upper yard, right, like the woman's part of the mechitza, is going to have much less than 10 tefachim, right? And the men's part is going to have 10 tefachim. Yeah. So basically, with the wall gets controlled by the yard that it's lower than 10 tefachim because it's much easier to access the top of that wall. But the one that the wall is higher than 10 tefachim, meaning the lower yard, is not going to get access to the top of the wall because it's more difficult for them. You have a cholza benachas v'lezeh bekosha, and this is where it's easy for this one, and this one it's hard. If you have a time where you have an option, who's going to get the top of the wall? The one that has an easier time to access it, or the one that has a harder time? We're going to give it to the one that has the easier time.
What about if they're both? What about if one is higher than the other, but both of them have it? It's 10 tefachim higher than them.
Then they both don't have access. Then it would be the same din as the Mishnah. That's what I think. No, then it would be the same din as the Mishnah. Where if it's four tefachim, then they get it. What?
It's benachas. Let's say it's not 4 tefachim.
Oh, if it's not
Meaning
4
it's
tefachim,
obviously
then it's Machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan.
But so when the Gemara says it's only because one of them is it's taka less than 10 tefachim for it.
That's why I understand it. Yeah.
Because the lashon is benachas. It seems like whichever one is easier for, that would be the one that they'd have access to it.
Right.
So
but if they're both the same, because here you have one that's easy and one that's hard, and then but if they're both the same, then yeah, okay. Amar of Shizbi, Amar of Nachman. Right now, this is again Rav Nachman. So charitz shebein shtei chatzeros. Now you have the opposite case. This one was talking about a wall. A charitz now was talking about a hole. So charitz shebein shtei chatzeros. If you have a charitz that's in between 2 yards, tzidei echad amud kasara, but tzidei echad shava la'aretz, which we said again, shava la'aretz means just less than 10 tefachim. So again, the same scenario, except one is lower than the other, and it's really a hole in the ground, not a wall. So you give it to the one that's less than 10 tefachim. One is tashmisha is easy and one is difficult, and it's basically the same thing. So now, why do you need two? Why do you need to teach us twice? With tzrichin, you need both. The yashmin kaisel. That if it would just teach you the wall case, the begaiva and mishtamshi inchi, because people use it high, right? Meaning people use higher areas. Right, aval charitz, but a charitz when people don't usually. People use tops of walls more than they use holes in the ground or troughs or whatever it is. That's that amalai. So you would say maybe the din is different. So that's why he needs to teach you the case of the hole in the ground. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we just remembered we had them in Shabbos, right? Where they put stuff in the holes in the ground, they stored things.
There's something in my head about it. I can't remember what.
Little kalim they put in the
vegetables, the kalim.
The little kalim, right? They put in.
No, we were talking about they stored things in the walls. They used to put their tefillin in walls.
No, that's something.
Oh, that was another. That was in brachas, I think.
Something
no, it was in brachas or Shabbos.
That's something else. This was they put stuff in the ground. There's different things. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Nechanami. Yeah, very good. It's not scary. When a kaisel, then it is scary. So I would say not to tricha, so therefore you need it. You need both cases. Fine. Now
after both of these halachas, does it depend on the kind of tashmish I want to use the wall for? In other words, if I want to put something that it makes more sense to put higher, then Nicha Tashmisha is going to be the one on the bottom.
Why? Yeah, but here we're not handling Nicha Tashmisha. Here we're handling
Tashmisha Benachos.
What? No, but that was before. Now we're just trying to explain why there's two cases. So it's just a matter of which one.
So they're kind of both. They're both are Tashmisha Benachos.
Right.
With right, that's the purpose. So I'm saying if the whole purpose behind this halacha is tashmisha benachas, if I have something that I don't know, I'm carrying a glass bowl of whatever, so it makes more sense to put it higher than bend down and put it.
I hear.
Tashmisha benachas is depending on what you're using it for.
Right, I hear that.
Would we go both ways?
I could be but here we're really handling the tzrichas. Here we're handling the tzrichas and not the right.
Yeah. No, I'm asking after the whole sugya. Now that we're done with it.
I hear. I don't know.
The underlying reason is tashmisha benachas. Nothing changed in the tzrichas.
Right. I hear. All right. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. So now we're gonna go with new mahalach. A new dinim is what about if you lower the opening? So Gemara is going to have a Havamina, and then the Gemara is going to change what it thinks. So Ba Lamato, if you're coming to lower the fence, right? Im yesh b'meyutay arba. So if it's four tefachim, meaning let's say how you're going to lower the fence, right? So the Gemara thinks what you're doing is you're going to take a box, right? You have a fence that's 11 tefachim high, but now you take a box or a stool, let's say, right? You take a stool and you put the stool down on top, right? And somebody could stand on the stool. So im yesh b'meyutay arba. If there is in the part that you lowered the height of the fence, 4 tvachim, then you could use the entire wall, which is very interesting. Let's say the length of the wall is 100 feet, and 4 tvachim of it, you put a box there. There, the Gemara is saying, since one section of 4 tvachim lowers the fence, so therefore makes it more accessible, therefore you could use the entire fence, right? And if it's less than 4 tvachim, right? Let's say it's 3 tvachim, so then you can only use that part of the fence, right, by those 3 tvachim, and that's it. So when it says manavshach, either way, if it helps, then you should be able to use the whole wall. And if it doesn't work, then even opposite that 3 tefachim that you put there, it shouldn't work, right? Meaning it's going to be all or nothing. So Maravina, so it's not talking about, when you're saying lowering the fence, we're not talking about putting a box there or a stool. We're talking about knocking off some of the cement from the fence. So therefore, as long as you knock 4 tefachim, you can use the whole wall. But if you don't knock 4 tefachim, then you can only use that section.
That
and that's it.
dirt works out to din what?
What do you say?
The wall, that dirt works out what din? That we're allowed to be ma'ariv together. That you're putting on the wall, on the floor, on the
right. Because now it's more accessible. So since it's more accessible, since you put a stool there, when it's 10 tefachim high, it's not accessible. So now you can't combine the whole yard because it's this big fence.
Accessible gives it. What's the din that it works? That you don't need an eruv by both.
No, you're going to need it. The question is whether you can make one big eruv.
One big eruv. I'm sorry. What's the din that it works out?
I'm not.
Accessibility? What's the
accessibility? Yeah.
Accessibility is not a din.
But that's what tells you that you
what's
combine
the mechanics of how it works? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Meaning, as long as one yard can access the other yard, then you have the option to make one big eruv.
But I can access with a rope from a tree from one side to the other side. It's called accessible.
Okay, so the Gemara is actually going to discuss this in tomorrow's daf or the next daf.
So that's what I'm asking.
That's a good. Yeah, so that the Gemara is going through all the different scenarios now. So it's interesting. The Gemara has like 2 blot of scenarios.
Yeah, but how does the Gemara understand it now? Why is it
right now? Right now, it just seems to be that it's totally in the lowering of the wall, if the access from the wall.
I learned it this morning. It's like a Pesach, no, or that's wrong.
Yeah. Ultimately, yeah, that's what it is. Ultimately,
it's
I agree.
It's like a door.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. However, you're going to access it, 100%. Yeah. Okay, so let's divide. Very good. So Amar Rabbi Yechiel. Kafa sal, let's say you take a basket and you turn it over, right? Now you put the basket against the wall, right? So that's also a Pesach, right, Zev? That's you're going to be able to jump on top of the basket, and now you can easily have an easier access to the neighbor's yard. So now you can make an eruv.
Does it make a difference that these could easily be moved? The box, this.
Very good. So the Gemara is going to discuss that. Very good. So. Yeah, the Oilam must have had good rest. The Oilam is going to do kasha tonight. What?
You have the word sal in your Gemara or sefel?
Sefel, I'm sorry. I said sal. Sorry. Sefel, yeah. Kafa sefel, memayit. If you turn over a sefel is it's not a basket really. I touch it sal. It's the same thing essentially, right? It's a bucket, right?
A bucket.
Yeah, so mamayit, so that will also lower it. Vamai, so when it has davar on nittel b'Shabbosu, that's not muksa, so it's something that's movable on Shabbos. But davar nittel b'Shabbos ain't a mamayit. Something that can be moved on Shabbos is not going to be mamayit because you can just take it away, right? Now you take it away, you make an eruv, because you have this bucket, right? But the guy can come and take away the bucket. Now you can't access the neighbor's yard anymore. So how can you have that? So no, it's talking about where he connected it with dirt, meaning he put dirt around it so that it's mamish, it's not easily moved. So the Gemara says, and this brings back this brings back way back from Gemara Shabbos. If you do attach it with ground and dirt,
I don't mean that. Don't mean this to be funny. Does it actually only one person on your side can access it, or you need everybody to be able to access it?
I mean, if it's only one side as opposed to both sides.
Both sides. No, both sides. But let's say because of a weight issue, not everybody in that side can step on that.
You mean the bucket's going to bust?
Yeah.
I'm not insulted, Urban. You could mention me by name.
Yeah.
I don't think you're in the top 5 in this year.
He was talking about me.
I wasn't talking about anybody.
Peretz is losing weight tomorrow because of his surgery. So
Didn't know we were rating everybody.
But anyway, I don't know. I think it just has to be accessible by one person. I think that's the way I understand it. But that's from the Gemara's Vayta. We'll see. But I think that's what it is. So
why does it have to be 4 tefachim? Meaning the Gemara doesn't seem to be mechal between 4 tefachim and not over here.
I understood it, Pasha, that it has to be 4 tefachim. No, it has
because
to be
of the
something
Gemara
considerable.
before?
No, what?
I'm saying then why is it any different than the case before? Then we get into the whole Gemara about before. Why is it any different than what we said before about the Gemara? The Gemara had all those questions.
Right. So you're saying so therefore it has to be 4, right?
I would assume, but what is the Gemara saying differently over here? What's the point?
Well, because here it's something that's not necessarily. It's not necessarily. There it sounded like the first case. The way I understood it is.
I'm saying once you're Chavre Ba'ara, how's it any different than the first case? It'll come down to whether it's 4 tefachim or not.
You're right. You mean you're saying why once you Mechavre Ba'ara, so then that's no different than building up the ground. You're saying.
Yeah, putting in, making a little hump on the ground.
I hear. I don't know.
Why does it matter that the basin or bucket or whatever could be moved?
Because then a guy can come, you put a bucket there, you say, oh, now we have good access because now there's less than 10 tefachim. If you step on the bucket, it's only 7 tefachim to get to the other guy's yard. And then comes along a kid and takes the bucket and steals it.
Comes along a kid and kicks over the lechi, and then what?
And a chanami.
So,
but here
it was there before Shabbos.
No, but here,
but it was there.
Why not? If it's there before Shabbos, is that not enough that it matters it all the way through Shabbos?
Exactly. The same way a lechi, the same way a chorus, any of these things. Before Shabbos, it's there. It should be fine.
Right. So clearly, from this Gemara, it's mashma that it has to be.
Maybe those are more permanent. These are temporary.
Yeah, but those are even just. I mean, I guess in the same way, maybe not just maybe not permanent, but those are there as just like something to be like.
No, but the lechi, you're not using the lechi
feature. Whereas this is like you actually need it there in order to for it to fulfill its purpose.
And you're using it.
Yeah, and you're using it. Exactly, you're using it. Maybe. Okay.
I hear, but clearly the Gemara is holding that it has to be there the whole time. Right? We don't see anywhere here where the Gemara says, yeah, just put it there bein hashmashas, and that's good enough for the whole Shabbat. I hear your point. Why not? I don't know. That's a good point. Okay, so if you did attach the ground, what's that going to help? Tanya paga shetmina beteven. If you take how we thought a paga is a fig that you hid it in the straw, and you had a cake, right, dough that you put into coals. So in Megillah, now the problem is it's moving muksa, right? In order to get, let's say you want to pull it out on Shabbos, pull it out of the straw, which is muksa. You want to pull the fig out of the straw, which is muksa, or you want to pull out this dough or whatever it is, cake from the coals. You're going to be moving the muksa. So in Megillah, miktsasa not a b'Shabbos. If it's a little bit is open, then you're allowed to take it on Shabbos because you're just moving it, right? it's even though it's moving, that's called tiltum and atzad. You're not touching the muksa. You're indirectly moving the muksa, which is okay. So why wouldn't you be able to move the bucket the same way? You pull the bucket, right? Pull the bucket, and it's going to move the dirt. So I'm asking into Islay Agnaim. No, it's talking about where it has handles to it, right? Because what's going to happen is it's not going to be. See, when you have the fig in the straw, or you have the cake in the coals, and it's sticking out, so you're just pulling it out, and the coals are just going to fall, right? I don't know if the other remembers this from Shabbos. Now the coals are just going to fall down. But if you have a bucket that has dirt all around it, and it has handles, then when you pick it up, you're actually lifting up the dirt. It's not just that the dirt's falling to the side. You're actually lifting up the dirt, which is not allowed, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's mamish moving the muksa, even though you're moving it not with your actual hands, but that you are still moving the muksa, right? Segama says, and let's say it does have it. So what? It's 9 tachas gefen. Let's say you hide a lefes as a, what do you call it? Turnip. It's known as a radish. Tachas gefen under a grape tree, a grapevine, right? So that's klayim bekerem. You're not allowed to plant anything with grapes. So bisman. Now we're on Talmud base. Bisman she miktas alim megulin. So if some of the leaves are megula from the radish and the turnip, there's no chashash loy mishum klayim. There's no chashash klayim v'loy mishum meiser, and not because of meiser. You don't have to give meiser on it either. Point is that if there's a what do you call it? A leaf hanging out from the ground, then it's not considered. We're not chashash that it actually took root. V'loy mishum shvius, and it's not a shmita issue either. But not b'Shabbos, you're even allowed to take it on Shabbos, right? Meaning, and Shabbos, it's basically we're saying it's not considered attached to the ground because, and there's no, it's not considered digging or whatever it is. So you see that you are allowed to. So like, no, here we're talking about where it wasn't simple to just pull up this bucket. Here it's talking about you actually needed a shovel or a hoe or whatever it is to actually dig out this bucket. So therefore, it's considered that it was mamish stationary and it's there for the entire Shabbos. Okay, now we get into the whole. This is really Shmuley Sugar Gemara, right? Because it's ladders and steps and yeah. So sulam mitzri, a mitzri ladder, right? From Mitzrayim, einam emayit, that does not lower the wall. Vatsuri, but a different type of ladder from Tzur that is memayit. The Gemara is going to discuss that now. Meaning, when we mean by memayit, it means you put a ladder up against the fence. We had this, I don't know how many blot ago, we had it, parenthetically, we had it. Right, so you're putting ladders up against the fence. So now you can climb up the ladder and access the other guy's yard, right? So what's the problem? Then you should be able to make an Eruv with each other. Right, so the question is what type of ladder it is. Okay, so what's the case of Sulam HaMitzri? So Amri Devei Rabbi Yanai, Kol Shein Lo Arba Chavokim. If it doesn't have 4 rungs, right? So if it doesn't have at least 4 rungs, then the ladder is worthless. Yeah. So therefore, it's not memayit because it's not. You can easily move it. Rashi says, yeah, and memela, it's not going to make the other guy's chutzner any more accessible. Amalei Ravacha Brei Rav Ravashi, my time at the Sulam HaMitzri Deloy memayit. How come a Sulam HaMitzri is not memayit? Amalei Lo Shmielach. Didn't you hear that the reason is for this ladder that doesn't have 4 rungs is because it's easily taken on Shabbos? Something that's not, you can't take on Shabbos, that you can take it on Shabbos is not mamay at the wall, like we just learned in Amud Aleph. Okay, so then he says, he's now fine. So that's the reason for that ladder. So the other type of ladder, that also, it's a ladder. So a ladder is movable on Shabbos, right? So why would you be able to be mamayit it that way? Why would the fence then be considered climbable with the other ladder? So he says, Hasam koivdai koivai. There, the weight of the ladder is koivai, meaning it's a much heavier ladder. So people don't just come and move those ladders.
So even though it's not, so there's this like middle darga where it's not muktzah because it doesn't really, because it's so heavy. Didn't we say in general when it comes to muktzah, if something's very heavy, we're going to look at it as muktzah? That if you're not going to move it, it should be muktzah. So the Gemara seems to be establishing a new thing that it's not muktzah, but it's heavy enough that we consider it established. Meaning it's considered like the wall is reduced.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly.
How do you? That's a funny thing because why if it's so established, it should be muktzah.
If it's so established.
If it's so heavy, right? Then we say there are certain things that are so heavy on Shabbos that we consider them muktzah because they're not going to be moved.
Yes, that's sort of like chisar and kiss, that type of thing. Yeah.
No,
you're right.
Or
so
because it's just so heavy, it's not going to be moved. The Gemara is saying the whole reason why it reduces the walls because of heaviness. So then we should say it's muktzah, mamanavshach.
So
it doesn't seem want to.
Right. So very good. So really, Taisus Ihachi goes through all the different studim whether all ladders are muktzah or not. So Taisus starts off with saying it's mashma that all ladders are not muktzah, right? But the Gemara in Beya, right, does say that there are certain types of ladders that are muktzah, right, depending on what the use is for. So
I can understand if it's muktzah and therefore it'll reduce the height because it's so, I don't know, if it's muktzah you can't go on it anyway, so what's the point?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Why can't you go on it?
Oh, maybe you could if it doesn't move.
Yeah.
You want to go on the ladder as opposed to moving the ladder.
If you can't go on it, it's not considered like you could just.
That's true. No, muktzah. No, you could go on. I didn't know what you were saying.
Muktzah,
you're allowed to go on.
So if you could go on it, but the Gemara seems to imply that it's considered not muktzah, but it still takes away the height of the wall.
Right.
Not necessary.
What does it matter if it's muktzah? You could still go on it. You just can't.
Agreed. I just find it funny that the Gemara seems to be creating a middle darga. I'm not asking.
No, you're right. I hear that. That's a good point. No, he's saying that there's like this middle where you can move it.
Muktzah.
But it's not mashma the Gemara. It is muktzah.
Why? The reason that you don't move it is because it's not movable. It also happens to make it muktzah. That's the secondary. It's muktzah because you don't move it. Well, also there's another halacha that comes out because you don't move it. It makes it a vessel.
Rashi says v'loy mishum iser. It's in light v'loy mishum iser. Al mishum shekasha litlay.
Yeah, that's true. That's not why we're getting there. It could become muktzah also because kasher litlay. So the reason
that's not what Rashi says.
What do you mean?
That's not what Rashi
doesn't
says.
Say it's not muktzah. Rashi says that the reason it works for us is not because it's muktzah. The reason it works for us.
No, Rashi says the Gemara seems to be splitting hairs here. The Gemara seems to be saying it's not muktzah. However, it's not. You're not moving it because it's just heavy.
He's saying it's right. Well, Rashi's saying it's not because it's not because it's
right.
usher.
It's not because right. It's not usher. It's not meaning it's not muktzah. However, it's just heavy.
Not
so
muktzah.
what other isser would there be?
The reason you're not moving it is not because it's muktzah. The reason you're not moving it is because it's heavy to move. It also happens to be
let me ask you a question. Why would Rashi bring that up then? Because the Gemara seems to be
because
splitting
that's
hairs.
the point here.
No, the point is the point of the Gemara is
move it.
No, it seems like Rashi wants to speak out very clearly. This is not usher al muktzah, but it's still able to establish that the wall is reduced. Why else would Rashi point that out?
Well, I think there's a secondary. I think that's a secondary point. I think that even if a sulam mitzri was muktzah, you'd still have the same issue. It's eminently movable. If a kid comes along and moves it, it's moved.
So then you're agreeing with me that it can't be. One second.
Okay, well, let's go weiter. You know what? If you want to fight about it, let's finish the daf before the oilam. We lose the oilam over here, and then we could continue this. Yeah, because it's not that many more. Yeah. Okay, so Amar Abaya. Yeah, Kaisel shebein shtei chatzeros. You have a wall in between two chatzeros. That's clearly what we've been discussing. Yeah. Gavoya asar tefachim, 10 tefachim high. V'niach sulam rochav arba mikan. You put a ladder that's 4 tefachim wide this side, for sulam rachav arba mikan, and a sulam that's 4 wide over here, and there's no space of 3 tefachim between each one. Then memayit, then it makes it lowers the fence, and you can make the eruv there. Shloisha 3 eina memayit. It's not. So again, basically, you have a fence. Just using here this step. You have a fence. You got a ladder over here, and then a ladder over here. I know you can't really see, but here's the ladders from either side of the fence. As long as there's less than 3 tefachim in between the 2 ladders, they're loved to each other, and then there's access both ways. But if it's more than that, then it's no loved, and then it doesn't work. Yeah? Then the loy amar the loy havi kaisel arba. That's only if it's the kaisel is not 4 tefachim wide. Aval havi kaisel arba. But if the kaisel is thick, 4 afilu muflik tuva nami, then even if the ladders on either side are way far away from each other, it's not a problem, because a wall that's 4 tefachim wide you can walk on it, right? So since you can walk on it, you can go up 1 ladder, then 4 you can walk on top of the wall, and then go down the other ladder. Meaning only if the wall is less than 4 tefachim, so people are going to be afraid to walk on it, then the ladders from both sides have to be within 3 tefachim of each other. But if the wall is 4 tefachim wide, then they don't have to be next to each other. Okay, so Amar Abibi Barabaya, Bana Itztava Al Gav Itztava. If you take a box and you build another box on top of it, so meaning and that's going to lower up the wall. Im Yesh Itztava Tachtayna Arba. If there's on the lower box 4, then it's Mamayit. Right? Because what?
What's the case?
So basically, you have 2 like the way it seems like you have a
wall.
You have the wall, right? That's 10 tefachim high. Then you have you have a desk, and under the desk you put like another desk slides under the desk.
Okay.
Right? Like a table. You have a table, and then sometimes under the table you could fit another, like a stool or whatever.
Okay.
Right? So that's a itztava on top of it, itztava. Right?
Like the bunk beds that have the thing in the bottom.
Yeah, so they slide in and out, right? Or I don't know if that's to slide in and out, but one is on top of the other. So if on the lower itztava, the lower stool that's under the thing, then it's 4. Then memayit, then that lowers it. Inami, or another way to do it is ein b'tachtayna arba. The bottom one does not have 4 tefachim, right? But v'yesh bal yoyna arba, but the top one does. And then there's less than 3 tefachim in between these 2, and then they'll combine with each other to be memayit the wall. Right? It's basically talking about like a bunk. Yeah, you're right. A bunk bed would be the mushal, but the one bunk bed is bigger than the other bunk bed. So if one has 4 tefachim, then that's enough, right? If the other one doesn't, so then you can combine the 2. If they don't have 4 tefachim, you can combine them. And as long as they're within 3 tefachim. What?
4 tefachim in between them?
3 tefachim in between height-wise, right? Right? Yeah. Okay, so that's that case. One more case. Sulam sheshlivasai parachas. So if you have a ladder, and the shliva is the rungs of a ladder, parchas. I'm sorry, not parachas, parchas, right? And each meaning it has its own. It's like I think it's our standard ladder. That's what we call it. Yeah. So im yesh, because it's hard to know when it's like a steps. See, Rashi calls it madregas. I mean, Rashi says our steps. Sometimes it's hard to you showing the pictures. Sometimes it's hard to differentiate when the Gemara is referring to a sulam as a ladder or a sulam as a steps. I see Yeshua Marchuk's showing it in the thing. Yurtzberg didn't post anything, right, on this? Yeah. Right. So you have some sides, you have steps, you have a ladder. So it seems like here we're talking about a ladder. So sulam sheshlivasai parchas im yesh b'shliva hatachtayna arba memayit. So if the lowest rung is 4 tefachim wide, right? And of course it has to be within 3 tefachim of the ground, right? That Rashi points out. Otherwise, it's not lower to the ground. Inami ein b'shliva tachtayna arba, or if the lowest rung does not have 4, v'yesh b'shliva ha'elyayna arba, but the top rung has 4, Vein bein zelazeh shloisha, and there is no there's less than 3 tefachim in between each rung, then it's memayit. Yeah. So that's again, as long as you have lava to all the ladders, then all the what do you call it, the rungs. Then that's right. You have less than 3 with all the rungs, and at least one rung is 4 tefachim wide. Therefore, that is enough to be able to.
One of the types of ladders, I don't know if it's a window washers, one of those ladders they have with it keeps on getting narrower and narrower.
Rashi makes it more like a ladder.
Right. I've seen those ladders. Right. It's wider on the bottom and they can sit on the top.
Specialized ladder. I forgot who uses it. Yeah.
Rashi makes it more like a ladder, while Tosfos makes it more like one of those wheelie carts in a library, or like when you're in Home Depot or Costco and they roll over one of those steps, those portable steps.
That's what they have it in your picture like that?
The picture is more like something like that. It's not on rollers, but it's built like that. Rashi's is a standard ladder.
Right. That's what's from Rashi, right? Correct.
So it seems to be like that.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah. What are you saying? All right. So we're done. Okay. So that's enough for tonight. So those that want to log off now, all those that want to fight, stay on.
So it seems like the last 2 cases of the Gemara, you could have something where the length of 4 tefachim is only starting from the top, but that seems to create almost like a wall down, even though the bottom rungs are less than 4. Meaning it can't be that we only look at the top rung and something. It needs to almost like create like a solid block of 4 tefachim all the way down. No,
right.
So is that what it's happening here? We look at from the top down, even though the bottom part's less.
I think we look at either way. It seems like from the Gemara, you need to have at one point one rung has to be at one point 4 tefachim wide, and then as long as everything is lavud to get you to the top of the wall, then you're okay.
So it's almost like we look at it wherever we go up or down when it comes to 4 tefachim. Everything is 4 tefachim at the end of the day. According to this pshat,
4 tefachim wide. 4 tefachim wide.
Even though b'metzias is not true.
What do you mean b'metzias is not true?
Loved, we're saying it goes 4 tefachim across. Loved is creating this 4 tefachim up and down.
No. Loved is for the height. The 4 tefachim we were talking about is for the width.
Right, but where do we get all the width? At the end of the day, why don't we look at it as yes? I understand there's 4 tefachim at the top. Let's say the rung is 4 tefachim wide at the top. If the bottom is not, even if you have loved, right? Who cares? It's not 4 tefachim all the way up and down, right? In the case with the 2 itztavas, right? If you don't have loved, we just look at it as it's hanging at the top, and there's this air between them. That's not good enough by itself, right?
Right.
Meaning, the Gemara says if you have 2 itztavas, but there's a space between them of more than 3 tefachim, so you can't say loved. We won't look at it as it's good enough. Why? Because it's an air. There's an airspace. So when we do have loved, what are we saying? Even though we're saying that it's what? That it's 4 tefachim all the way up and down? Loved creates the 4 tefachim up and down?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it connects the 4 tefachim wide thing to the next rung in order to get it to go.
To look at it as 4 tefachim, right? Otherwise it would be nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's a good point. Gershon, where's the 4 tefachim come from? Right? We were supposed to look into that. Like, what's 4 tefachim? You had asked that yesterday, right? I totally forgot to look into it.
4 tefachim are rishus.
That's
4 by 4 is a rishus, not 4 tefachim just by itself.
Well, that's a different shaila in the Rashi on Amud Aleph. Which way he means 4 tefachim? 4 tefachim out, 4 tefachim wide. Yeah, 4 by 4. Yeah. But I guess maybe just 4 by itself, in order to climb up a fence, is enough. I hear.
4 tefachim. Well, that was the problem with the opening, right? The 4 by 4 opening in a wall. It's not big enough to go through. It's not. What is it for? Yeah. And where's the problem?
Right. I hear. Okay, fine. All righty.
All right, Shkaya.
Okay,
I'm still here, but I'm about to log off.
Okay, you're gonna get. I'm logging off. You guys can